Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back. It's Brandon with Campbell Fitness, and today is a much requested video on the kinds of shoes I wear in the gym. So if you've been paying attention at all to my videos over the last 6 months, specifically the training videos, you'll notice that I've been wearing these shoes, which has led to a lot of questions from you guys asking what kinds of shoes are those, are they good for lifting, and can you do a video review on them? So that's in fact what I'm going to do today. Now the shoes themselves are New Balance Minimus MX20s, and they're considered a running shoe. Now as part of the Minimus line, New Balance also offers a cross-training shoe and a walking shoe. Now as the name implies, Minimus, they're supposed to emulate barefoot running. In fact, for their cross-trainers, they actually partnered with Vibram to set those up. So you'll see Vibram displayed on some of their cross-training shoes. Now this particular model that you see here, as I mentioned, it is a running shoe and it's last year's model. So they've recently come out with a new design on these. The name for those are still New Balance Minimus MX20s, but they're version 2. They have a lot of the same colorways, except they're a little bit different. I actually prefer these ones, as again, as the name implies, Minimus, they're a bit more minimal in the design features of them. Now one of the things you'll find about these shoes is the sole itself. That's the first thing I'm going to point out. You'll see it's a fairly flat sole. There is some rise here in the toe box. However, when you look at the sole itself, it is fairly flat. You're not going to see a lot of variation in how it's laid out. You see this nice honeycomb design, and again, nice and flat. Another good thing about these shoes is the drop in the sole to the toe box. And what I mean by that is the sole itself is 14 millimeters high, where the toe box is 10 millimeters. So there's only a 4 millimeter difference between the two, so it's very flat. In a lot of these other athletic shoes, what you find is that there's a lot more padding, they're a lot higher, and you'll also find it to be more of an arch to put your heels up. Especially if you're talking about squatting shoes. So some of those squat shoes you'll find is they really put a high arch on the heel, but again, that's more for putting you in a prone position to be able to squat better. Now with these shoes, one of the things I'll say is, since I've had them for 6 months, they've held up extremely well. You'll notice they look almost brand new. A lot of times with shoes in the past, some of the problems I've run into is fraying or the seams coming off around where the sole connects to the shoe, where I don't have any of that here. Again, going in line with the minimal design, you won't find a lot of actual seams on here to fray. The only visible ones that I can see are maybe right here around where the laces go in. Otherwise, you can't see any seams on this shoe. That being said as well, if you look inside in the insole, there's nothing there. So there's no detachable or replaceable insole in here. All you see is hard plastic right there, you're right on the sole. Again, this is to emulate having a bare foot and being on the ground. The reason why this can be beneficial to lifting is because if you're lifting heavy weights, you don't want to have a lot of instability in your shoes. In my previous videos, before I got this shoe, I was using Nike Air Maxes. And although those were a very comfortable shoe, what I found when doing heavy lifts with squats or deadlifts was you start seeing some shaking or swaying in my ankles and in my toes where I'm rocking back and forth. These shoes have greatly helped in that aspect. Now when I came to getting these shoes, another pair of shoes I was looking at were the Chuck Taylors by Converse, which are very popular in a lot of lifting circles. Number one, because they're fairly inexpensive, and also because they do have a very flat sole. Now with that, I didn't find them to be overly comfortable. With this shoe, however, I can say it's very comfortable, even though it does have a flat sole and there's not much to it. I also find the top is very breathable as it's made of a lot of mesh. I also find I have more ankle support in here. As you can see, it's padded pretty well. Now with these shoes, cost-wise, you're looking at somewhere between $85 to $100. When these first came out last year, I believe they were in the 90s. However, although now that the second version is out, I believe the list price on those are $84.99. Now as far as these go and cardio goes, I have worn these for cardio, although I don't do a lot of my cardio outside. I prefer to do something where I can set the same pace. So I'll do a lot of cardio on treadmills or on stair steppers, and they've worked out very well. They're not uncomfortable at all. I know a lot of people who switch to shoes like Vibrams have issues wearing them around or running in them. They find it very awkward. These shoes are a nice hybrid between a Vibram pair of shoes or a minimal pair of shoes and your normal running shoes that you may be more accustomed to. Now the only downside to these shoes, as far as I can say, is that I don't like the fact that the soles aren't completely flat. And what I mean by that is you can see this small upturn right here in the toe. Now I really notice this sometimes when I'm doing deadlifts, when I go back and watch the videos of my lifts. Sometimes I have the tendency to kind of rock my foot a little forward. Now my heel doesn't come off the ground at all, but there is slight movement. Obviously if the shoe was more flat, It could potentially be better in the long run. However, I'm just nitpicking at this point. So as far as these shoes go, I would highly recommend them to anyone out there. Not only are they very comfortable, I think they're somewhat stylish, and also they're great for lifting as they are fairly flat and very minimal, and they do a great job in the gym. As always, everybody, thanks so much for watching. Stay big.